So I'm Dr. Andrew Curtin. I'm a lecturer in applied ethics here at the IDEA Centre, the Ethics Centre, as part of the University of Leeds. So I do a bunch of different types of teaching. I teach on the ethics of science, a bit of philosophy of science, do a lot of the ethics of artificial intelligence and data, and yeah, general ethical issues in business. And in computing, yeah, so I cover kind of a broad range of applied ethics issues. And my research is on trust and all kinds of ways that trust operates in society, why it matters in interpersonal relationships and in the corporate world and, yeah, in general communities. So this module is IDEA 2002. It's got the title, Should Scientists Be Activists? And the focus is on the ethical responsibilities of scientists and the way that science has ethical implications and how it kind of interacts with society, the role of values in science. But the lens is really on, is there a kind of dilemma that scientists face between being responsible truth tellers, objective reporters of facts in society, or do they have kind of responsibilities to go beyond that and at some level let their value judgments influence what they do and how they report the truth and yeah, what kinds of things they focus on and research, and in general what responsibilities they have to the wider community. So some of the topics cover that kind of focus. It looks at what responsibilities scientists have in how they communicate their findings, what kinds of metaphors should they use, how should they frame their language, should they purely focus on being accurate and objective, or is it ever worth trying to adapt how framings are presented to particular audiences? Also looks at how scientists should manage uncertainty. How should they report uncertainty of their findings? Because often it's the case that people want scientists to tell them, something that's factual, but often science deals with uncertainty. So there's a real dilemma there that scientists face. But there are other topics. So we look at more applied kind of issues with science in society and the scientific industry. So we look at the ethics of the pharmaceutical industry, for example, whether a scientist is kind of compromised by going into working in pharmaceutical industry and working for massive profit-making corporations that have been blamed for certain kinds of things, particularly around the opioid crisis, for example. But we also look at the ethics of climate change and the responsibilities on scientists with environmental ethics. So, do scientists have a responsibility if they feel that policy is not going far enough? Should they become activists themselves? And that's the title of the module. So it's a kind of core theme, bringing it all together. But we also look at ethics of kind of future scientific technologies, so things like genetic modification or human enhancement. We'll look at a little bit of the ethics of artificial intelligence as well, and things like that. So another two topics that we look at in the module are the medical model of mental health. So we're exploring the idea really whether mental illness is a thing that genuinely biologically exists in a kind of medical sense, or whether it's a sort of throughput for society's value judgments about what constitutes normal. And we'll look at how historically that sense of what's normal and what constitutes mental ill health has changed over time. So we're evaluating the medical model of mental illness, which is a timely topic. We also look at the question of whether certain kinds of scientific research should be halted. So we've had the film Oppenheimer exploring, for example, the literal fallout from the nuclear bomb being developed and scientists living with the kind of consequences of their amazing discoveries. But we're considering the question, is there a point at which science goes too far? So at the moment, that kind of question is being asked about AI research, for example. So we'll explore that. So this course should be of interest to essentially any student who's got an interest in science and its place in society. So obviously, particularly for science students, that might be the case. It directly addresses the kinds of dilemmas that they might face in their both their academic practice, but also their potential future professional practice as scientists. But it looks really at issues that concern everyone. So the increasing kind of politicization of science and scientific findings and scientific knowledge, that should be of interest to anyone now, because we're at a time when things like vaccines are treated with skepticism and vaccine science. Scientists are increasingly distrusted in some sectors. Climate science is denied in some major economies. So the politics now of science and the way it's kind of embedded in politics now should, I think, make this a module that's of interest to any students who finds that kind of thing interesting. So the course is structured in a series of lectures every week, and then the lectures are followed up by a seminar. So there's about 11 lectures and 10 seminars, and the lecture is, a standard kind of lecture where we'll have some interaction, but we'll be presenting you with the topic under consideration, so for you to go away and think about. And in the seminars, there'll be lively discussion and debate kind of format where you might be in small groups working to figure out what you think about the particular issue or the particular dilemma being discussed that week. And the final piece of assessment that you're building towards is a kind of ethical argument essay. So you write an essay giving your viewpoint and defending it using critical reasoning on one of the topics from the module content. So we have plenty of support available for the assessment. The final lecture topic will just be purely devoted to essay writing assistance. There's formative assessment exercises where at some point during the module we'll give you the chance to submit some formative written work that we'll give you feedback on. And all the seminar activities will be geared around, the kinds of skills that are going to be assessed in the final piece. So we'll make heavy use of looking back at the marking criteria. You'll be evaluating your own work as you go along. So I firmly believe in making sure that you're fully prepared by the end of the module for the assessment that you're doing. You should be familiar exactly with what's being expected of you. So throughout, that'll be the focus.